Welcome to a special, in-depth edition of our sports analysis. Today, we are focusing on a seismic shift in the landscape of Philippine sports, a moment that transcends the boundaries of a tennis court and spills right into the heart of a nation. If you were anywhere near Makati City this past Wednesday, you felt the tremors. The Glorietta Activity Center didn't just host an event. It became ground zero for a national celebration. Thousands of fans, shoulder to shoulder, erupting in deafening cheers, all to catch a glimpse of a 21-year-old who has just redefined what is possible for Filipino athletes on the global stage. Her name is Alexandra Eala, though to the roaring crowds and the millions watching at home, she is simply Alex. Fresh off a historic, jaw-dropping run at the prestigious Wimbledon Championships, where she dismantled the defending champion and cemented her place in the top 30 of the world rankings, Alex returned home not just as a competitor, but as a conquering hero. The scenes at Glorietta were nothing short of absolute pandemonium. Tickets for this exclusive fan meet, organized by her longtime supporter Globe Telecom, evaporated in mere minutes. The energy was electric, the pride was palpable, and the message was entirely clear. Philippine tennis has finally found its superstar. In the next few moments, we're going to unpack exactly how a young girl from Quezon City evolved into a Wimbledon giant slayer. We will meticulously detail the trials, the triumphs, and the grueling sacrifices that pave a road to the All-England club. We will examine the historic upset that sent shockwaves to the tennis establishment, the incredible atmosphere of her Makati homecoming, and what this unprecedented rise means for the future of sports in the Philippines. Settle in, because the story of Alexandra Eala is a masterclass in resilience, and it is a story that demands to be heard in its entirety. To truly understand the magnitude of what occurred at the Glorietta Activity Center, we first have to understand the broader context of this journey. For decades, the Philippines has been a nation fiercely passionate about sports, but that passion has historically been channeled into a few specific arenas. Basketball is essentially a religion. Boxing has given the country its greatest global icon in Manny Pacquiao. Weightlifting and gymnastics have recently brought unprecedented Olympic glory through heroes like Hidilyn Diaz and Carlos Yulo. But tennis? Tennis has always been viewed from a distance, a sport where Filipinos could compete regionally, perhaps shine in the Southeast Asian Games, but ultimately struggle to break through the impenetrable fortress of the Grand Slams. The European and American powerhouses have long dominated the pristine lawns of Wimbledon, the red clay of Roland Garros, and the hard courts of New York and Melbourne. The history of Philippine tennis is dotted with trailblazers, names like Felicissimo Ampon in the mid-20th century, or more recently, double specialist Treat Huey. But a top-tier singles contender who could threaten the absolute best in the world was something the country had only dreamed of. Then comes Alexandra Eala. When Alex stepped into the Glorietta Activity Center on July 15, 2026, she wasn't just walking onto a stage. She was walking into the embrace of a nation that had been staying up until the early hours of the morning, bleary-eyed but bursting with pride, watching her rewrite history. The event felt more like a royal coronation than a standard press engagement. Mariana Zobalda Ayala, speaking on behalf of Ayala Land, perfectly encapsulated the mood when she noted that Alex hasn't just inspired Filipinos to discover tennis. She has reminded the country of the uniting power of sports, rallying an entire population behind a shared cause. KD Dizon, Globe's chief marketing officer, echoed this profound sentiment, stating that when Alex steps onto the court, she isn't just swinging a racket. She carries the hopes, the grit, and the indomitable spirit of the entire Filipino people. To appreciate how she earned this monumental homecoming, we must look at her roots. Born in Quezon City to a family steeped in athletic discipline, Alex's mother, Rosemary, was a former national swimmer and a bronze medalist in the 1985 SEA Games. Athletic excellence was in her blood, but it was her maternal grandfather who introduced a 4-year-old Alex to the tennis court. That early exposure blossomed into an undeniable prodigy. Recognizing her immense potential, her family made the staggering sacrifice to send her halfway across the world to train at the prestigious Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. It was there, under the grueling European clay court regimens and the watchful eyes of world-class coaches, that her raw talent was forged into a professional weapon. Her junior career was a premonition of her current success. She captured Grand Slam doubles titles at the Australian Open and Roland Garros, and in 2022, she achieved the ultimate junior milestone by winning the U.S. Open girls singles title. But as any tennis aficionado knows, the transition from junior champion to Professional Women's Tennis Association Tour is a notoriously perilous path. It is a graveyard of former prodigies who could not adapt to the ruthless physicality, the relentless travel schedule, and the profound mental isolation of the senior circuit. Alex had endured the grueling grind of the International Tennis Federation circuit, playing in small towns with sparse crowds, battling seasoned veterans who fought for every point to keep their careers alive. She secured titles in lower-level tournaments in Spain, Mexico, and India, slowly and methodically building her ranking, her physique, and her mental fortitude. The 2026 season began with its share of challenges. Early exits at the Australian Open and Roland Garros could have derailed a lesser athlete's confidence, but Alex Eala is built differently. She possesses a lethal left-handed game, characterized by a heavy, penetrating forehand and an incredible court sense, but her most potent weapon is her resilience. As the tour transitioned to the grass court season, something clicked. Grass is an unforgiving surface. It demands a low center of gravity, lightning-fast reflexes, and the ability to adapt to unpredictable bounces. Alex found her footing, putting together a strong preliminary campaign that included impressive runs in Birmingham and Berlin, securing victories over formidable opponents and setting the stage for London. Let us dive deep into the hallowed grounds of the All England Club, where the story of this Makati homecoming was truly written. Entering Wimbledon, the expectations were measured, but the underlying belief was there. In the opening round, she swiftly dispatched Mexico's Renata Zarazua in straight sets, a commanding 6-1, 6-2 victory that showcased her aggressive intent from the baseline. The second round presented a stiffer challenge against Maya Joint. After dropping the first set, Alex recalibrated, digging deep to take the next two sets, culminating in a blistering 6-love decider that sent a clear message to the locker room. But it was a third-round matchup that will be talked about in Philippine sports circles for decades. Standing across the net was none other than the defending champion, the world's most dominant force on a tennis court, Iga Swiatek of Poland. Swiatek is a titan of the modern game, a player known for her ruthless efficiency, her overwhelming baseline power, and an aura of invincibility. For a 21-year-old Filipina, to face her on the grass of Wimbledon was daunting enough. To defeat her was considered unthinkable by the global odds makers. Yet, when the umpire called play, Alex Eala did not shrink from a moment. She played the match of her life. Utilizing her left-handed spin pull Swiatek out her comfort zone, Alex matched the world's best stroke for stroke. The first set was a grueling, high-stakes chess match that went into a tiebreak. Displaying veins of ice, Alex snatched a tiebreak, sending a jolt of anxiety through the Polish camp. In the second set, smelling blood in the water, Alex stepped inside the baseline, dictating play, punishing every short ball, and ultimately dominating the set 6-2 to seal the victory. It was a moment she transitioned from a rising prospect to a legitimate global superstar. Although her remarkable run concluded in the round of 16 against Italy's Jasmine Paolini in a hard-fought 3-set battle, the statement had been unequivocally made. Alex Eala had become the first Filipino singles player in the Open era to reach the fourth round of a Grand Slam tournament. The statistical and historical fallout from this Wimbledon campaign is staggering. When the Women's Tennis Association officially updated its rankings on July 13th, Alexandra Eala's name sat proudly at a career-high world number 28. To put this into perspective, no Filipino has ever reached this echelon in singles tennis. She leaped 4 spots from her previous ranking, bypassing established Grand Slam champions, and firmly positioning herself ahead of players like Yelena Ostapenko and Barbara Krejcikova. Breaking into the top 30 is a critical threshold in professional tennis. It means she will now be seeded in future tournaments, protecting her from facing the absolute top-ranked players in the opening rounds, which completely alters the trajectory of her career. The homecoming she received was entirely commensurate with these historic achievements. Upon landing at Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 3, fresh off a brief, well-deserved European vacation, she was met not just by ecstatic fans, but by a heavy contingent of high-ranking officials. Nevada's Mayor John Ray Tienko, Philippine Sports Commission Chairman Patrick Gregorio, and Philippine Olympic Committee President Abraham Tolentino were all present to roll out the red carpet. This was no longer just about sports. This was an event of national significance. From the airport, the accolades continued to pour in at the historic Malacanang Palace. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. personally bestowed upon her a presidential citation, a formal and prestigious acknowledgment by the state that her victories are viewed as victories for the entire republic. Yet, amid the intense fanfare, the political honors, and the corporate endorsements, what stood out most during the Glorietta event was Alex's profound humility and deep connection to her supporters. Looking out at the sea of faces, some of whom had camped out for hours in congested mall just to secure a fleeting glimpse of their hero, Alex spoke directly to the people who fuel her journey. She didn't speak in the polished, distant tones of a corporate athlete. She spoke with raw gratitude. She thanked them for the sleepless nights, knowing full well the massive time difference between London and Manila. She thanked them for the prayers and the unwavering support. She said, "Maraming salamat sa suporta, sa pagpupit, sa pagdarasal. I'm doing my best to make you guys proud, and I hope sana sabay-bayan nyo pa rin AKO in my next matches and in my next journey." This grounded nature is perhaps her greatest asset as she navigates this sudden explosion of fame. The psychological burden of carrying a nation's hopes can be crushing. We have seen athletes buckle under the weight of an entire country projecting its dreams onto their shoulders. But Alex possesses a rare mental maturity. She understands that this glorious homecoming in Makati is a magnificent milestone, but it is not the finish line. The immediate future presents a grueling schedule that will rigorously test her newfound status as a top 30 player. After this brief, intensely emotional respite in Manila, where she also met intimately with media and sports apparel sponsors, Alex will pivot immediately back to the ruthless demands of the WTA Tour. The North American hardcourt swing is beckoning. She is slated to kick off this critical phase at the Mubadala DC Open in Washington, a highly competitive WTA 500 event that begins on July 27th. From there, the tour moves north to Toronto for the Canadian Open in early August, a massive WTA 1000 event that attracts the best in the world. All of this is preparation for the final Grand Slam of the year, the U.S. Open in Flushing Meadows, New York. In America, she will undoubtedly draw massive support from the vibrant, passionate Filipino-American community. Anyone who has witnessed a Filipino athlete compete in the United States knows exactly what to expect. The stadiums in Queens will be transformed into virtual home games for Alex, bathed in the colors of the Philippine flag. What we are witnessing right now is the birth of a genuine cultural phenomenon. The impact of Alexandra Eala goes far beyond the baseline of a tennis court. Just as millions of Filipinos suddenly became boxing experts during the Pacquiao era and gymnastics aficionados watching Carlos Yulo, we are now seeing a massive surge of interest in tennis across the archipelago. Local courts, previously underutilized, are filling up. Young children are picking up rackets, believing for the absolute first time that someone who looks like them, who comes from the very streets they come from, can conquer the manicured lawns of Wimbledon and the blistering hard courts of New York. Corporations are taking serious notice, realizing that investing in individual athletes outside the traditional mainstream sports can yield incredible returns in national pride and brand loyalty. Alexandra Eala has single-handedly forced a paradigm shift. She has proven that with the right foundational support system, an unyielding dedication to the craft, and raw, undeniable talent, the Filipino athlete can dominate in any arena, in any sport. The Glorietta fan meet was a microcosm of this revolution. It was loud, it was chaotic, it was wildly enthusiastic, and it was deeply emotional. It was a collective sound of a nation finding a brand new hero to believe in. As she packs her bags to leave the warmth of this Manila reception and head back into the fierce, lonely battleground of professional tour, she carries with her a distinct advantage. She knows now, without a shadow of a doubt, the sheer magnitude of the force standing right behind her. As we wrap up this extensive look into the incredible, unprecedented rise of Alexandra Eala, it is impossible not to feel a profound sense of anticipation for what comes next. The scenes at the Glorietta Activity Center will be permanently etched in the annals of Philippine sports history, not merely as a celebration of a magnificent Wimbledon run, but as the exact moment the country fully embraced its newest global icon. Alex Eala has shattered the seemingly unbreakable glass ceiling of Philippine tennis. She has dismantled defending Grand Slam champions, broken into the elite top 30 of the world rankings, and brought an entire nation to its feet in roaring approval. But perhaps the most exciting, awe-inspiring part of this entire story is that she is only 21 years old. The absolute ceiling for her potential hasn't even been discovered yet. As she embarks on the grueling North American hardcourt swing, heading toward the bright lights of the U.S. Open, she no longer walks onto the court as a hopeful underdog looking for a lucky break. She walks out as a seeded threat, a proven giant slayer, and the undisputed pride of over 100 million Filipinos worldwide. The pressure will be higher, the opponents will be studying her game, and the spotlight will be blinding. But if her performance in London and her grace in Makati are any indication, she is more than ready for the challenge. We will, of course, be following every serve, every volley, every triumphant roar, and every match in the weeks, months, and years to come. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the extraordinary, history-making journey of Alexandra Eala. Stay tuned. Keep your rackets ready, because this magnificent story is just getting started.